Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and today what we're going to do is go over the review for the game Concord. Yes, the ever controversial Concord, and we're going to be strict and very honest about this review. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to it. Alright, so like I was saying, what we're going to do is go over my honest and truthful review for that of Concord, the, again, ever controversial Concord. This game, let's start off with the basics. This game is simply a multiplayer game. This is a team hero shooter type of game, right? So similar to that of the genre from, of course, Overwatch or Paladins or the upcoming Marvel Rivals, which is more third person, of course, but there's not really that many team shooters out there. They try to say that market is oversaturated, but just right off the bat, I just want to say it's not. How many dungeon crawlers do we have? How many beat 'em ups do we have? How many open world third-person games do we have? The list goes on and on, right? I can clearly make the case right there. So I just kind of want to nix that out of the way and go off of that route there. But let's start off with the overall presentation here. What does Concord look like? What's it feel like? How's the aesthetics? How's the energy? How's the visuals? All of that. The visuals, the presentation, everything that I just mentioned comes off very good. It comes off very late 70s, early 80s type of theme, much like, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sure you've heard that this has been attributed to similarities to that type of theme as Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think that's a negative thing. I think there's a lot of, what can we say? There's always a lot of things borrowed from any type of media, right? And that's not to say this isn't any different than any other media, right? This is not something that's brand new in one way or the other. When in regards to that, you got somebody that, reminds you of Star-Lord, someone that reminds you of course, Drax and stuff like that. But that's to be said, that's about as far as it goes. Some of the personalities are that way. But it really has a cool aesthetic. Like, I really enjoy Stranger Things' 80s theme, and as they continue to get older and go into the, next few years and stuff like that, and how the aesthetics change there, how the trends change, and just kind of what was popular during those times. And so it's kind of neat to see that. We don't know. I'm not 100% sure at this point in time, the time period of what's going on out there or why they're kind of akin to that time period. But that being said, I think the presentation is really fun, and again, reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy / Stranger Things, and just kind of throw yourself into that type of days of old, so to speak, but with that new flair twist. That being said, let's shift on over right away to what I want to get to is the meat of the game, and that is the gameplay itself. Now, is this really similar to Overwatch? No, I think Marvel Rivals is a lot more similar to Overwatch than what Concord is to Overwatch. Yes, we're going to reference Overwatch a lot because that was the biggest team shooter that, is going to be compared to it. Won Game of the Year when it won and came out that year, right? It had a huge leaps and bounds in the industry. That being said, that's why we're going to compare that here and there. But this is more comparative to gameplay-wise and how it feels. It feels very tight. It feels very polished. And it's a mix of like Overwatch gameplay meets Destiny. If you haven't heard those two things, it's really a marriage between the two. And it feels good. Some characters feel like you're playing a warlock in the gliding section of double jumping for one of the characters like Haymar and stuff like that. You get this warlock type feel. You get other characters that are a little more heavy in their use and others that are a little more nimble. So you can say, yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Tracer a little bit or Genji and stuff like that. But we're going to have those comparisons, right? And that was the reason why. But it just feels so good, so tight. Everybody that I played with, whether it's the first time that they're trying this game out or they're revisiting it after the beta or whatever the case is, they keep coming back to the gameplay, how well this controls. And ladies and gentlemen, what's important about a game? The gameplay. Number one's the gameplay. Everything else is everything that can fill in. Let's use an analogy of pie. Everything that can fill in that pie, right? That makes it good. That means the story. That means the lore. That means, unlockables. This means anything else you want to throw into the mix that tastes good for you in that pie, that dessert pie that you like. So I think it just does so well there. Now, that being said, This game is so good. It has a few different modes, right? A lot of folks are trying to throw it under the bus a little bit, stating, this doesn't have a lot of maps right now. This doesn't have a lot of maps for just launching and what the modes it has. Again, if we're going back, and yes, I looked this up not too long ago, Overwatch started, again, comparing it, started with 12 maps. Well, Concord has 12 maps. It just released. It is so polished. I'm not experiencing any bugs. I have not had any game crashes. I've had where it booted me out of the server a couple of times, and that's nothing. It's no full-on crash. It's no having issues clipping through the maps, nothing like that. It's very polished. I can't state that enough. That to me is very important on top of the gameplay, is that how polished is it? How good does it feel? What's the presentation? What's the quality like? That's my number one thing, and that's why I enjoy PlayStation first-party games, because 9 out of 10 times the quality is there. Even in All-Stars Destruction, that little, rip-off, I'm going to say rip-off of Twisted Metal, and I'm not going to say that lightly because it should have been a Twisted Metal game, but here we are. The presentation was fine. The gameplay was solid and tight, but this isn't a review about that, but that's just kind of where I'm going there a little bit with that. Now, going back to Concord here, let's go over everything else real quick. What does it look like microtransaction wise, right? Because we have to pay $40 for it. That's the big thing that they hearken to, is $40 for Concord. It should have been free to play. Did free to play help other games such as Rumbleverse or that wrestling open world microtransactionist game? No, it didn't. Just because something's free to play doesn't mean it's better or that's going to help jaunt the game a little bit. It might for a little bit, but if you don't have the meat of it there, if it's not there like it's intended to be, that's where we as consumers and gamers will lose. Case in point. So $40. I have no microtransactions at this time. Later on, they did state, yes, there might be some there will be some cosmetics out there for you to get. But as right now, they're not shoehorning anything in. There's nothing you can perpetually buy at this point in time, aside from an upgrade to the deluxe edition if you didn't already do that. That does have, again, cosmetics, and it did grant you 3-day early access. That being said, nothing is pushed in your face in regards to that, folks. How much have I spent? I don't even want to say. How much have I spent on Fortnite through the years? How much have I spent on Overwatch 1? How many copies did I buy of Overwatch 1 because friends and family or whoever didn't have the money to purchase that game, and $60 a pop, I gave it to them. And then what they do, they turned it into free to play because they dropped the ball big time. Then it went free to play. Then what? Then we got skins that continued to be $20 plus, depending on the packs that you got in Overwatch and Fortnite and you name it. $20 a pop as opposed to $40 one time only. You get access to all these characters. The list goes on and on. We lose in the long run when it's more of a monotonized free-to-play game, because we all fall for it. If we do enjoy the game, we end up buying those skins. We end up buying the blings, the gestures, the emotes, the everything that comes along with that. So when I see a point in case that this is an issue because it's $40, folks, $40 is great. Let's say you put 30 to 40 hours into this game at $40. You get your playtime worth. There's a lot of folks that spent $70 on a game, put in 25 hours to beat it, if not less, and never go back to it again. This game is meant to continue and going on and on and on. The discourse around that is really unfortunate. It really is. But you take a step back, you got to understand why. The quality is there. I cannot hark on that enough. I really can't. It's so super polished. Now, gosh, aside from that, the maps are great. I think they're great aesthetic-wise. I think they have great cover and choke points. I think there's great things about them. I can't wait to see what they release in the future. It is very galactic and outer space-ish, and again, you can akin that to Guardians of the Galaxy type of, when they're going to the space stations and everything like that. You're going to see a lot of cargo. You're going to see a lot of metal and other objects that you're going to find around the map, around there, if you will, right? So the maps are great, I think. The comp that hasn't come out yet, that one I don't really care for, because I never cared for the mode. For example, you're going there, and if you die, you die, right? It's like Rainbow Six Siege. You don't come back until the next round or whatever the case is. So one life, one kill kind of thing. as opposed to what I normally play in it is either just your typical deathmatch, right, which is called Brawl, or you do something called Trophy Hunt, which is basically COD's Kill Confirmed. So that's pretty neat. I like both of those. They translate very well. I hope they give you a comp mode in the future where it's not kind of like Valorant or Rainbow Siege 6, stuff like that, because I just like to come back. I like that back and forth pull. That's what brings me to these team shooter type of games. So that's something to certainly consider. Nothing but positive lights in this. I've had no issues, folks. This has been absolutely amazing. Aside from that, the only drawback that I can see and that I've heard complaints about, and I totally agree, is the fact that the character designs are less than subpar on some of these. Some of them are great, like Hamar, Duchess. I think Itzy is great. Jabali. I think a lot of them are really well done, but there's a few that you kind of scratch your head like, there's nothing aesthetically pleasing, and I'm not talking about the way a human being is looking, right? I'm talking about the armor and just kind of how that looks. Like, talk about DeVeers. Now they have, as we go through here, you might see them. They have the helmet, almost reminds me of like Aliens, right? Back in space there a little bit, but it's just super like, just not aesthetically like, oh, that character's cool looking with this armor or this outfit. That's what you kind of want to look for, right? In my opinion, you want something that goes, man, this character is a badass, and this is who I want to play because of, maybe I don't even like the way they play, their play style, but they look that badass. I want to get good at this character. Some of these characters, you're like, I guess I'll play with them. I do like the way they play, but man, thankfully it's a first-person shooter because I don't care for any of those skins, right? It just doesn't make sense. So I do think there's a lot of room for improvement there, but do I think anything about this leading into transition here? Is it woke? Is there an issue with that? No. Do the characters have pronouns? Yes, they do. On the character screens, if you're looking into them, in the top like right or left hand corner, it's just up there. It's not pushed in your face. It's not some sort of an agenda. So the fact that that narrative ran off as well, that's an issue that I have. I don't think that's fair to the game or the devs because I don't feel, and I'd be honest with you guys, like I said, I want this to be completely honest. If it was truly something I felt like they're pushing this in my face, like regardless, I can see where people are coming from maybe, right? But I'm not seeing that whatsoever. In the cutscenes, there's nothing to do about that. I'm not hearing a peep about any of the sexual orientation that has been implemented in the Overwatch series. I haven't, but all of a sudden Concord is an issue because they have pronouns in the top right-hand corner. It doesn't make sense to me why people are outraged about that, but you do you. That being said, that doesn't affect the gameplay, it doesn't affect anything about it. So anyways, kind of wanted to mention that as well because it does need to be mentioned. All the shortcomings that people are just spouting out that haven't even played the game or given it a chance are spouting with that narrative. So just kind of wanted to knock that out as well. That being said, as a package overall, I've had no issues. Getting in there for a queue is almost instantaneous. The longest it takes is 20 seconds around there at the longest points possible. And that means even if I'm solo queuing, teaming up, a full squad, it doesn't matter. It's around the same peak, anywhere from 1 second, I kid you not, 1 to 1.5 seconds, all the way up to 20 seconds, and we're in. We're good to go. What that looks like in the future, like I said, we'll kind of have to see, but this is in regards to the whole package as Concord. So nailing those out, ladies and gentlemen, folks, this game is really good. Let me just give my final review here. Now, I kind of went back and forth. I thought this out. I'm going to be honest. It has a few shortcomings, and some of that, like I said, it's part of the package. Some of the character designs do leave a bad taste in your mouth. Like, I want to like this character, but it's just not quite there, so dings a couple things. Do I think they could have done better on the comp part? Absolutely. Do I think they could have done better with some collaborations right out the get-go because this is a first-party Sony IP? Absolutely. Stuff like that. Would I have liked to see more maps? Sure. But again, it's the same as what Overwatch launched with, so I can't really knock at a point at that point, right? So at this point, I'm going to give a final score of 7 out of 10. I kind of wanted to give it an 8, but I'm going to be honest, we'll give it a 7 out of 10 just because it has a few shortcomings there. Aesthetically, I would have liked to see a few of the maps be a little bit better. Some of them do seem just very kind of mundane, a lot of cargo, like I said, which is fine. But when the multiple maps of that does have a lot of cargo-esque stuff, a lot of metal stuff like that. I think there could have been a little more exotic locations that you could have landed on for planets and still have an arena type of feel to it. So just a few little knocks, but nothing bad whatsoever. And I can only see this game getting better and better. But folks, we definitely do need to support this. This is a brand new IP, and new IPs can't succeed if we create these false narratives. But this is a definite 7 out of 10, and I do recommend folks to check this out and play this for sure. That being said, we'll wrap up the video here for the review. I do appreciate it if you made it to the end here. Definitely just take a step back before hating on a certain IP, especially if you have not even tried it out, and just understand everything I stated was the truth, honestly. And of course, your support has always been great. I appreciate that. At this point in time, we're just crawling our way right over to that 2,500 subscriber goal, so I do appreciate that. I've been asked to do this review, so I did want to get this out there this week, so I appreciate that as well from the feedback from the community. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below, and just, you know, be as nice as we can in the comments. I know not everybody's going to agree on this game. Like I said, very controversial. But that being said, also leave a like and comment. That does help out the algorithm, helps me out, and love to hear from the community as well. And on top of that, if you haven't already, you like what you see, you want to see more, definitely consider subscribing, helping out a small content creator like myself. And of course, again, thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you next time on the next Xvault gaming video. And until then, take care.